What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 2 of the Live Button with your host, Dad the Gamer, and myself, Pastor Gaines. We are going to be talking about a subject this evening, or whenever time you're listening to this podcast, but we're going to be talking about a subject that I think is kind of controversial currently, and it's what a lot of people are complaining about, and it's what a lot of people are not happy about, and that is Twitch discoverability. And
oh my goodness, there's a fire. There's a fire, you know?
So much to unpack here. People are so mad. They're so mad. And I think they're so mad because they're not doing anything to become discovered. So let's unpack that a little bit. Like, what has been your experience with Twitch, with its discoverability, with how things have gone? Like, give me your thoughts on that.
Yeah. So once again, I have two different journeys, right? And
Sure.
and we're gonna honestly in this podcast we're gonna talk a lot about different categories that might bleed over into other episodes.
Sure.
But like Twitch discoverability has a lot to do with social media and TikTok, right? My first time, streaming, and all last year, 2021, I mean, I was on TikTok, I was on social media, but I really was not engaged. I wasn't posting a lot. And every content creator will kind of talk about it. I mean, you're not going to really get that initial growth. It's something you have to kind of stick to in order to have some growth, right? But really, once again, if you look at beginning of the year when I said, hey, you know what, I'm going to go ham on social media and I'm going to take my discoverability, because that's what it's about. That's what I really think as a Twitch streamer / content creator, you have to take your discoverability on yourself. You can't. You can't rely on, these algorithms and, Twitch's discoverability, however they do their discoverability. You can't depend on those algorithms for your growth. You're the one that has to sit there and put in the work and say, you know what, I'm going to put out really good content for my discoverability, because if you're not, that's where once again the frustration is going to come in and things are not going to be working for you. Because if you're just going live, or if you're just like, I'm going to post a TikTok, or I'm going to post on social media in general, say twice a week, you're not going to get a lot of traction, and it's unfortunate, but that's the truth, right? So for me, I 100%, you have to take your discoverability for your platforms in your own hands. You cannot rely on these other platforms, Twitch, TikTok, whatever. And I know TikTok's algorithm is always a topic of conversation, but once again, if you put out good quality content, you're going to get discovered on TikTok, and then i.e. that's going to bleed over into your your Twitch, and that's when people are going to start coming into your Twitch and saying, hey, you know what, I followed you on TikTok or YouTube Shorts or YouTube, and I like your content. Now I'm here to see the live stream, right? That is what you have to do. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's the funnel of content that kind of goes back and forth. And what I have found, and I've had a very different experience, because I'm just going to make a blanket statement. Twitch has discoverability, and it's not as much as you want. I think that's
good.
Kind of where things are at currently with Twitch. And the only reason I say it has discoverability is because of my personal experiences with Twitch and streaming over the last year. I mentioned this in the last episode. I've had so many people come in and say that I was on their recommended, and they came and checked me out. So I don't know what that would be called if not discoverability, because I'm not doing anything for that I know of. Like, there's so many theories about what recommended pages actually are. Like, maybe that person and me watched a similar streamer at one point, and then it pointed them to my channel, or whatever it may be. I think Twitch has some discoverability, and I don't think it's as much as you want. So what we want to do is we want to tell you how to prepare for getting the discoverability that you do want, adding it to the Twitch's discoverability, which is minimal, and then overall blossoming into the brand or the creator or the streamer that you're actually trying to be. So I think a very important thing you need to realize, and Dad the Gamer hit on this with everything he just said, is that if you're trying to get into streaming, like we were talking about in our last episode, you need to break the mindset that you are going to be a streamer. Those days are done.
100%.
Like, there is now the age of the content creator, which means you need to be, in order to get discovered, making content on all these different platforms, right? Like the TikTok, the Instagram, as sad as that is currently, which I still have, but I just don't use it much. Twitter, you got to be on YouTube, long form content, YouTube Shorts, and then streaming is like this minimal thing that you do to kind of encompass all that and tie all that together, because that's the bottom of your funnel. That's where you want everybody to go, right?
Yeah, I think everybody, so many content creators on TikTok and social media have said it 1,000 times. I've seen it multiple times. Stop calling yourself just a Twitch streamer. call yourself a content creator. And I know
Hmm.
that's weird to say, and I know that's weird for to digest, right? Because if you would have told me that last year, like, no, like I'm a content
It sounds
creator. I'm not.
bougie, dude.
It
It
does
sounds like
sound
you're better
bougie,
than
right? It
everyone.
does. It does sound a little bougie, but that's the reality, right? That's
Yeah.
how you have to look at it. Is you're a content creator.
Hmm.
Gone are the days, and you just touched on this. Gone are the days, where you can just stream on Twitch. You cannot do that
Hmm.
anymore. If you're gonna do that, I promise you, there's gonna be some frustrations. And
Hmm.
I got it. Look, everyone's gonna be like, oh, whatever, Tim the Tap Man, Doctor Respect, all these other people who just streamed on Twitch long ago. That's no longer the case anymore. If you look at Twitch's
Yeah.
growth, especially during the pandemic, it
Oh yeah,
exploded with
dude.
streamers,
My gosh.
and it's such an oversaturated platform. And it is, if you just if you did not create content, you just live streamed, there's going to be some frustration setting in. And once again, that's where you're going to be like, you know what, I'm going to give up, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm not experiencing any growth that, whatever XYZ, streamer is experiencing, which we'll get into comparing yourself to other streamers later. But, that's where that frustration is going to set in, because you're not creating content on these other platforms to actually grow, where their algorithms know how to push out good content. That's what's crazy
Yep.
is TikTok. It just knows when there's good content to be pushed out. And as soon as it starts grabbing a hold, as soon as people start watching it, liking it, commenting, sharing, that's when it kind of starts
Sharing is
getting,
massive.
yeah, sharing is massive. But that's when it starts getting pushed out in the algorithm and helping, push out your content and in your face. And look, I know a lot of people get frustrated with, their views on TikTok. I get messages
Hmm.
all the time and conversations with people all the time about, their views. They're like, I'm only getting 50 views, 100 views, 200 views. Look, that sucks. I got it. I'm analyzing my views all the time, right? And I say the same
Yeah.
thing. It's all relevant, right?
Hmm.
If I get frustrated when I have 600 views, right? But somebody
Hmm.
who's just on TikTok, they might, be very appreciative for 600 views, right? But you have to think about it. That's, say, for example, if you got 200 views, that's 200 people that saw your brand, that saw
Oh
your
yeah.
content, that saw your stream quality, and you might not get the initial, follow, or the initial bleed over into Twitch. But if you be consistent with it, if you continue to be consistent putting out content, that's where that discovery bleeds over. And I'm with you, Patrick Gates. I know, recently, I think about 6 weeks ago, Twitch's CEO came out and said that they're only pushing out, give or take, about 30% of the streamers.
Yeah.
Is kind of
Hmm.
what they said. But I do get a decent amount coming over from the Twitch recommended page. But what's crazy is I get a lot coming from the Twitch recommended page because they seen my name on TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, and they
Sure.
recognized my name, right? It wasn't
Sure.
as though they were like, oh, let me go check out this person on Twitch. No, no, no. They said, hey, you know what? I seen Dad the Gamer on TikTok. I seen Dad the Gamer on YouTube or wherever else. And they said, now it's on my recommended page. I had to come check him out. And now I'm here. This is a great stream, right? So, but honestly, I would probably say 50% of my followers are like that, where it's like, hey, you know
Hmm.
what? I follow him on TikTok. I've seen his TikToks, and now he's on my recommended page for whatever reason. Twitch put me on the recommended page. Now I'm here.
Sure.
But if I didn't make a TikTok, if I didn't push out my content to enhance my discoverability on Twitch, they would have
Hmm.
scrolled right past. They would have never came by my stream.
Sure. Yeah, and I think that's what's so hard is like we're trying to have this conversation about Twitch's discoverability, but you can't have a conversation about Twitch's discoverability without involving other platforms because that's what the CEO said. He was like, we're relying on these other platforms, which is why in the affiliate agreement and the partnership agreement, they're allowing partners and affiliates to stream to TikTok and to stream to Instagram Live, I think it is,
Instagram
at the
Live, yep.
same time as they stream at Twitch, because in the long run, those platforms are giving people to Twitch to then hopefully give more money to Twitch to then get Twitch out of this ditch that it's currently in, which is we're not going to talk about that tonight. But
Sure,
um,
yeah.
I agree. I think it's just one of those things where it's like if you're going to be a content creator, you have to. And Dad the Gamer, you hit this right on the head, and you said something along the lines of like you have to provide good content. it's not even the fact you have to provide good content on other platforms, you have to provide valuable content on other platforms, because not only are people going to associate you with value and solving a problem that they have or meeting a need that they have, but then when they're scrolling through Twitch and you happen to be in the recommended, or you happen to
Mm-hmm.
be in another stream, like I have had the weirdest instances where I'll go into a stream where I don't know anybody and I'll be like, "Hey, it's good to see you guys. Like, what's going on?" And someone's like, "Hey, is that Pastor Gaines from TikTok?"
Yep.
Like, it's the most surreal thing ever, but it wouldn't have happened if I wasn't using other platforms to be discovered on Twitch. So, if you're providing value, if you're meeting the needs of people, if you're able to teach somebody something, entertain, or do something along those lines in your content, then people are going to see your name and they're going to associate your stream with similar types of content as they've already seen, which is just going to further allow them and make them want to click on your stuff. Now, I am curious though, if we can have an actual conversation about, if you, let's say you don't do social media. Let's say you just don't do social media.
Mm-hmm.
Can you use Twitch and get discoverability on Twitch? Like, the first thing that come to my mind is like the networking aspect, where you're in people's streams and you're in people's communities. And I'm not saying like you go in and you do the whole like, "Oh, gotta go stream, like I'll see you guys later." Like,
Yeah, yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
saying do that, but like, if you're in communities and if you get to know streamers and if you get to know people, like, is it possible to use the minimal discoverability on Twitch right now to grow a following on Twitch? And I ask that because I'm genuinely curious as your thoughts, because
So
I don't have an answer for this.
okay, so I think it is possible. All right, I think it is possible. However, the issue becomes, how long does it take for you to gain as much discoverability as you
Yeah,
need to be
that's true.
satisfied, right? So
That's true.
if you're not on, TikTok or Twitch or TikTok or these social media platforms putting out content, then it's going to take you a very long time to hit that point where you're like, hey, you know what? This is awesome. This is working, right? Because
Mhm.
let's be real, even streaming takes a lot of work, right? And we already talked about this once, but it's financially, it costs a lot of money, right? So for
Sure.
you to gain enough discoverability on Twitch to be satisfied, I mean, I think you're probably talking a couple of years. Let's be real
Mhm.
about it. A couple of
For
years
sure.
where if you're not producing any, really good content. And now you touched on one thing, on the valuable content. And I want to
Sure.
touch on this, and I've talked about this recently, but in terms of valuable content, I think so many people are wrapped up into, the Twitch tips on TikTok that they see, and all these, content creators giving advice, and they see the growth based off of that, right?
Mhm.
And so they think that that's what they need to do, and I'm here to tell you that's not the case, because if you're somebody who can create, I say this a lot. If you're somebody who can create different kind of content than everybody
Yep.
else, you're gonna succeed, because and the best example of this is somebody like, I don't know if you know, I know you're not a big Call of Duty player like myself, but that's how my content is, right? But Timmy Toucans, Timmy Toucans is somebody who plays Call of Duty a lot, right? And if you look at his content, he gets hundreds of thousands of views, a bunch of likes and
Mhm.
comments, right? But it's not those sweaty clips. It's just literally him having fun, running around and running
Yeah.
people over with vehicles and killing people. And he has a good time doing it, right?
Mhm.
It's not these, I dropped so many kills or whatever, right? You
Yeah.
just have to figure out how you can create that really good, engaging content to be able to
Mhm.
post to TikTok and all these social media accounts for growth. And I think so many people are wrapped up into, well, I mean, I don't really have anything to add value. Listen,
For
entertaining
sure,
people is
dude. Oh my
value.
gosh.
Entertaining
Yeah.
people is value, right? I
Mhm.
open up TikTok and I scroll through TikTok and I stop at Call of Duty clips, because it's that's value to me, right?
Mhm.
I'm doing whatever and I'm stopping and I'm laughing, or I'm like, oh man, that's a good play, that's a good shot, whatever, right?
Yeah.
That's value to me, and that's what's going to get me to say, hey, you know what, I'm going to follow this person. I follow Timmy Toucans. I would have never followed Timmy Toucans.
Mhm.
I don't follow him. He doesn't give any Twitch tips, any Twitch advice tips. No, he's a
Sure.
funny dude who posts funny content on TikTok, and so that's why I followed him. So I think
Yeah.
people need to look at, the term valuable content, and look past the whole like Twitch tips and those sort of things, and think
Mhm.
about adding an entertainment value to people's or to people, versus thinking I need to jump on these Twitch tips bandwagon because
Mhm.
that's what's providing value. Is no. Now don't get me wrong, if you have if you have maybe a take on something, or if you have some advice that's maybe not been talked about, then sure, put that out there, right? But I think so many people get wrapped up into trying to do what so many people have done and have had success doing on TikTok over the last year and a half, or Twitch, in terms of Twitch tips, that they forget that, just provide good, entertaining clips and value in your content will actually probably drive more people over your Twitch than anything else.
Yeah, it's interesting because being in the Twitch tip space, I will say this is that I get a lot more streamers in my community than I do viewers, because
Yep.
my content is geared towards. Now, there's a blessing and a curse of that. On one hand, like,
Sure.
everybody understands the grind we're all in and everyone understands what we're doing. On the other hand, when I'm trying to get viewers into my stream to kind of get more numbers in my stream, a lot of my community is streaming,
Yep.
so it's like, it's kind of this very weird ebb and flow. So the other thing about valuable content is there is an audience for everyone. Like, and I think that's what's very important to understand is, like,
100%.
Dad
100%.
mentioned that, like, people don't know what to make content on because they think they need to teach people stuff. That's not necessarily true. Like, if you are funny, if you are entertaining, if you can provide a solution, if you can, I mean,
Yep.
people film their daily lives and put it up. They vlog. Like,
Yep.
you don't have to know anything about anything to post content. You don't. Like, the only reason I went into the Twitch tip space is because I'm an ex-pastor and I like to teach, and that's kind of like, it scratches that itch for me. And I also like to really help people out, and it's worked out very, very well for me.
Yep.
But the other thing about valuable content is, if you want to get into a space that you think is oversaturated, or if you want to get into a space that has a lot going on in it, you just need to be better than the people that are in it. And I know I say that very, like, nonchalantly, but, like, if you want to be known in the space for something, just create better content, or more individualistic, or more what's the word I'm looking for? Beneficial content
Yep.
than the people that are already in the space, and then people will start looking to you for those type of for that type of content in general. Now, I will say this: the whole discoverability on Twitch, there are the freak situations where people can get partner and just stream and blow up,
Yeah.
and that does happen. And I'm not trying to negate anybody who has done
Sure.
that, or I'm not trying to negate anything that had,
Yep.
like,
Same.
anybody's grind for that. But what I am saying is that is one in a million. Like, the
100%.
fact that Blue Thunder just got, in 6 months, Twitch partner is insane, but he did
My man
TikTok.
grinded.
He has a dude.
Grinded.
Yeah, he grinded hardcore. He had Twitch, he had TikTok, he had YouTube, he has
Yep.
Instagram. He's a content creator, like we've been talking about. So I think trying to use just Twitch for discoverability, I mean, like I said, I think those days are dead. I think that it's going to be very, very difficult. But I also want to defend Twitch a tiny bit here and reiterate, like, something is happening for discoverability, because
Yeah.
I have new people coming in my stream from Twitch. Like, I think you've experienced this as well. A lot of people have been like, "Oh, like, I've come from TikTok," or, what. Like, I've had a few people come from YouTube, which, like, blew my face off when I first
I've
heard
had a
that. Like,
couple
that
as
was
well.
crazy.
Crazy.
Dude, it feels nuts, because you feel like your
Yeah.
content is finally working on another platform to
Yep.
do what you have it do in the funnel. But the majority of my stuff, and especially if you look at Twitch tracker and just see the graph kind of going up, is all from TikTok growth. Like, I think I gained probably about a thousand followers in 7 months from TikTok.
Yeah.
From TikTok to Twitch. So, like, my Twitch went from 300 followers to 1,300 followers in 7 months,
Yeah.
which is just bananas for me. So I
I'm the
think,
same way.
yeah,
Yeah. I
I
mean,
think
I'm the same way.
you can't have Twitch discoverability without a handful of other things, I think, is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, I get. I mean, I'm sure being in the Twitch tips, Twitch advice space, you probably have a lot of conversations with, content creators who are struggling, right? And
Sure.
for me, it's always comes back to the same conversation when I'm looking at somebody saying, "Hey, you know what? I'm not growing on Twitch. I'm having issues growing on Twitch. I've been streaming to one viewer, two viewers, whatever. Can you help me, right?" And the very
Yeah.
first thing I do every single time, without a fail, is I go to their TikTok. I go to the
Oh, for sure.
TikTok and I look at the last time they posted a video, what kind of content they're posting, how often they're posting, and I mean, 9 times out of 10, it's always the same. It's very sporadic, right? It's posting, and I know we'll get into TikTok another day, but it's they're not utilizing the social media platforms out there that allows them to really grow. And I'm with you. I mean, if you look at my graph starting from January of 2022 is really when I started grinding on TikTok. I
Yeah.
ended last year. So I ended last year. I tweeted this out, and I cannot wait to retweet it this at the end of this year. But I had 497 followers on Twitch, and I tweeted this out saying that my 2022 goal, I wanted to be at 1,000 followers for my next year, right? 2022. And
Dude, that was
as
mine
it
too.
sits
I had that goal as
today,
well.
yeah. So as it sits today, I'm at 2,700 followers.
That's
All
so
that,
nuts.
all that comes from TikTok. I promise you. Like
Yep.
TikTok is how I have grown. I would honestly say 75% of my growth is from TikTok.
Yeah. I agree.
You know, getting offline followers, right? And we talked about, you know, being recommended, them following me on TikTok, those sort of things. And you know, the things that I talk about in my content, and I'm sure it's the same for you. You know, everyone has their one-offs, right? You talked about, you know, being able to just stream on Twitch and having that growth. 100%. It is not out of the realm of possibility. It is absolutely possible. Now, it's going to take you a long time. We talked about that. But the other thing is you know, my advice and the things that I say it because Twitch is oversaturated. The whole, you know, streaming on Twitch is very oversaturated. So everything that I talk about and that we're talking about this podcast helps you, you know, beat those odds, right? Beat those odds in terms of discoverability and getting your name out there and being able to grow your Twitch to enough to where you can say, hey, you know what, this is turning into something. That this is going to be able to, for me to maybe have the possibility of taking this full time one day, because once again, it comes down to how many people are on the platform. And look, I mean, Twitch can't sit there and push out 9.2 million streamers a month to everybody. It's just not possible. You know, I don't know what people expect. You know, it's literally not possible for Twitch to push out everybody. They have to figure out, you know, who knows what their algorithm is, but they got to figure out how they push out certain streamers during certain times. But once again, we talked about this last episode. You need to be able to take that in your own hands, and you need to say, I am going to take my discoverability and I'm going to grow out my social media platforms to get people over to my Twitch so that way I can be discovered.
Yeah. And I think also this is very important to note that like our podcast is not a path to partner guide. It's not because we're not there.
No.
We haven't done it. Like this podcast is designed based off of our experience. Me for the last 3 years, Dad, you're for the last 2, correct? You said 2?
Yeah, 18. It's like 8, a year and a half. It's coming up on 2 years will be March.
Okay, so basically, it's based off the experience of a culmination of like 3.5 years of streaming with 2 dudes that have had some recent success on it, decent success on it,
sure,
and also the desire to like share our experiences. So like if you take what we say on this podcast and you try it out and it doesn't work for you, first off, sorry, that really sucks. Like, I hope it does work for you. But like, it's based off of our personal experiences, and everybody's experiences are 100% different for the most part. Now, obviously, there's some blanket statements that we can make that are just going to be true. Twitch's discoverability is bad. Yeah, it's there. It's not great. You have to use social media when you're trying to grow your Twitch channel. You can't just stream anymore. Like, there's some blanket statements that we can say that are just true, not only based off of our experiences, but also based off of the circles that we run in with the other streamers and content creators that we know from TikTok and Twitch that just say the same stuff. You know what I mean? And, you know, we're going to do our best here on this podcast to make sure that we're not only saying things that are true for us, but also like blanket statements and things that are true for the majority of people that we've talked to. Like this is not, I don't think this is new news that there's not great discoverability on Twitch, but I think that we can provide some form of value as to how there can be if you decide to go that route.
Yeah, I think I want to kind of touch on this a little bit, and I've said this a lot. I get a little bit more hate from my kind of content than I think most people get. So I've said this multiple times in TikToks before, but you know, the advice that you get for discoverability or the advice that you get for Twitch growth that you see in social media is 100% subjective to the person giving the advice. Now, once again, there are some absolutes out there. There are some, I don't want to say one-offs, but majority of the advice that you hear is subjective in terms of how they've grown, right? And once again, we've had, you know, some recent success in how we've grown our platforms. But, you know, the say 20%, there are some blanket statements out there like Twitch discoverability is not that good. Once again, we talked about that. It's just not possible for them to push out 9.2 million streamers to get discovered every month. It's not possible. Literally mathematically, it's just not possible.
Hmm.
And once again, blanket statement, you need social medias to grow your platforms. So those are the things that we talk about that kind of everyone's on the same page about, right? But as we go through this podcast and have these discussions, yeah, we're gonna be talking about some things that maybe you don't agree with, or maybe just like Patrick Gaines talked about. Maybe you try out and you're like, this isn't working, or this didn't work for me, right? Well, you know what?
Hmm.
Yeah, that sucks. Listen, all my advice, all the advice that Patrick Gaines gives, it's not going to work for every single streamer. This is how we have grown our platforms to where it is today, which it's as of today, it's October 1st, 2022. That means all of 2022, I've grown 2,200 followers. Patrick Gaines, I think you said you've grown about 1,000 followers, 1,300
Yeah.
followers, this year. So it's like, we've had some success growing out our platforms to where it currently is now, and that's the point of this. That's the idea of this, is to help people break through and be able to get discovered on Twitch based off of our experiences.
Sure. And I think one of the really cool things about this whole medium of doing a podcast as well, especially for not only for us, but for our listeners of this podcast, is like you're going to witness our successes as we have them. Like we're not just going to
And
have
failures.
success. Yeah. And failure, dude. Oh my gosh.
100%.
Oh, we could have a whole
100%.
episode on failures, man.
Yeah,
But
I'm
like,
gonna add that to the list of episodes right now. I'm
bro,
adding it.
the thesaurus of failures 101, dude. Like it's just craziness. But you guys will be able to see our successes as they happen on this podcast, because we're not just going to have successes and not share them. Like everything that we are learning, we're and I don't know how to even say this like without sounding like dumb or ridiculous, but like we're giving the best stuff away for free. Like this is
Yeah,
all free
yeah,
stuff. We're not charging for the podcast. Like we want people to have as much transparency in the content creation journey as humanly possible, because when we got into it, or when I got into it at least, there was not a whole lot of guidance on where to go,
yep,
what to do, how to do things. Like, who do you talk to? How do you even network with somebody? Is it weird? Like, what's cold calling like? Like,
yeah,
there's a billion different things that nobody teaches you how to do. But if we can provide some value and some kind of a heading or true north on your journey for streaming and content creation, we want to do it, because I mean, that's just what we're about, man. That's what we're
yeah,
about. We like doing this kind of
100%.
stuff.
And
So that's where I'm at.
you've talked about it, earlier in the episode, but I mean, we run in some circles. We know some people who, Twitch partners. I know a couple. I know a few that have had
Mhm.
success as well. So I mean, our goal is to bring people onto this podcast as well. Maybe probably give or take maybe once a month, and have them talk about their successes and their failures, and once again just share that knowledge with everybody, because I mean, I'm the same way. I mean, I didn't know what was what when I was streaming. Well, like I said, I didn't know what Twitch partner was. I didn't know what a Twitch affiliate
Mhm.
was when I started streaming. So and it was just sheer luck, finding this information. And then once again, I mean, I can't reiterate enough the failures. That I mean, I'll be very blunt with the failures that I've had, what I
For
learned from
sure.
those failures, but be able to share our experiences, how we've come up, to this point now. Which once again, we're not Twitch partners, right? We're not these full-time content creators, full-time streamers, but we've had some success. And for me, what really drove me to this idea of doing this podcast was wanting to. I see so many people fall for nonsense in the Twitch world. That sucks that they fall for it, and we'll
Yeah.
talk a little bit about it. I'm gonna
Oh
add
my
that to our
god,
list of
dude.
things, but
Oh my
and it's
god.
frustrating to see people go through those things and then they quit, or they're having we'll call it false success, and
Mhm.
they just don't know. And when you're a streamer trying to figure things out, you just don't know what you don't know, and that's the issue.
Yeah, and I think also the other selfishly, the other reason for doing this podcast is because there's very minimal discoverability on Twitch. Like this is just another medium for people to
100%.
get into to attempt to tackle the discoverability beast, man. Like I'm so excited to see where this podcast is going to go, but not only that, like I cannot wait. I cannot wait for someone to come into my stream or come into your stream and be like, "Hey, I came from your podcast," because that is
Dude.
not
Yep.
that's another branch of the content creation tree that has just opened up to us and is like, holy crap, that's working now too. So I just think if you're going to be continually making content, if you're going to provide valuable content, if you're going to get this funnel going that we've been talking about, then you're going to be 100% fine. But you also need to understand that it takes the commitment to just say, I'm going to do this now. Like, this is what I'm going to
Yep.
do until it doesn't work. And that's something that we're going to talk about another time, guys. But we are wrapping this up here. We are right here at the 30-minute mark, and we want to obviously be respectful of everyone's time. It's always a super pleasure talking to you guys. Dad, where can they find you on social media, bro? Lay down your
Yeah.
socials, and obviously this social too.
Twitch.tv/Dad the Gamer. 3 is at the end with the ER. You can find me on TikTok.
So edgy, dude. So edgy.
So edgy, you know what I'm saying? So 2001, you know?
I love it, dude. Hot topic.
Listen, for the
life.
record, Dad the Gamer was just taken, okay? And I was tempted to
That's
contact
fair.
the person who had it, but you know what? I said, screw it.
That's fair.
I'm also on TikTok, same name as well as Instagram and Twitter. And then for this podcast, you guys can find us on YouTube, as well as TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram at the live button. It should be same across all platforms.
Now, is it the live button pod or is it the live button?
You know what? It's the live button pod. It is the live.
I just want to make
pod.
sure that I can find it, dude, because I don't know. It's still
it is
so
the
new.
live button pod. You know, we should probably
rock on. I love it, dude. Well, listen, guys, you can find me at twitch.tv/Pastor Gaines, and then all of my social medias on any social media is just I am Pastor Gaines. Every single one. And obviously follow the podcast, subscribe if you're on YouTube, all that jazz. It's been a pleasure talking to you guys. We will see you guys in episode 3. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day, night, or evening, whatever time you're listening to this podcast.
See you guys.